Hello, St. Thomas Academy, and welcome to the Cadet Football Show. I'm your host, Mike Maxwell, and to my left is our head football coach, Travis Walch. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good win last Saturday. Congratulations on that. Section semifinal victory over our inner city rival, Two Rivers. Final score 47-14. Give us your thoughts on the game.
Well, I think you're playing a 8-win team, and I think what we had in the past was a chance to kind of get a feel for who they were earlier in the season and in past schedules. We didn't have that opportunity this year. I think the last time we played would have been section championship last year.
Yep.
So it gives a team a lot of growth opportunities throughout the year for both of us, both new staffs. And I don't mean completely new staff for them, but they do have a new co-head coach that really has taken the realm with the offense. So we were seeing something in a team that went, okay, they've had a lot of success. They have belief more than anything. Mm-hmm. And they were running a scheme that, frankly, we had struggled with. If you said what would be the recipe and what would be tough, is just a big physical line that's committed to running the ball and play action, and that's what they were. So as a coach, lots of concerns throughout the week on how we were going to respond, and was happy with the response, not just of the offense, not just of the defense, but also the special teams. And being able now, you lock in 1 week and go, this is our assignment for the week. How well can we execute that assignment and come out healthy and be ready to go for the next one?
Right, yeah, exactly. So the last time that we lost to Two Rivers was actually a decade ago. So 2013, they were then known as Henry Sibley. We had beaten them during the regular season, 31-0. And then they came into Gerry Brown Stadium with a 6-4 record, and they absolutely manhandled us. They beat us 38-14. So 2 minutes into the game, when they take that quick lead, you know where my brain went was, oh no, here we go again. And it looked like it might be a bit of a shootout. You guys come down, score quickly as well to tie it up, but your defense really stepped up after that, and they didn't score another point until late in the fourth quarter when it didn't matter. Were you a little concerned when they got that quick strike and scored?
Well, right away you say yes, and then we get the opportunity now to look at film on game day, which frankly I've said this maybe more than once. I wish we didn't have that technology, honestly. Okay. We never had it in college, and you had to win games by communicating and saying what you thought you saw. Right. So it's just a different world. Yep. So when you go back and look at it, you go, 10 guys did exactly what we needed to. There were 2 eyes that went the wrong way. Yep. Yep. And
that's what I saw from the box.
That is defense.
Yeah.
You're out there to fit 8 run gaps. And if you only fit seven of them, and I will tell you, with every game we get deeper, you're going to face better and better running backs. They will find that gap. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure their coaches are sitting over there saying some of the same things. You know, we fit it up really well, and Savion or Nico make a guy miss. Well, you don't have a backup plan for that. So once we looked at the film and you got to see, okay, we're in the right spots, we have the right call. You either miss tackle or you have bad eyes. That, against this type of competition, ends up in a touchdown. So was I worried in terms of our fit and our scheme? No, I thought we could get it corrected. But from a momentum standpoint, momentum's a real thing. And what are our guys thinking? What boost does it give to their team? That is a very real thing. And you need to be able to answer. And I was thankful that not only did our offense answer at that point, but our defense then also made the correction and played better. Yeah.
So overall, would you be pleased with how the defense played? And I guess the follow-up question would be, were you surprised by the margin of victory?
Yeah, I kind of said it last week with Chaska. So we lose by 1. It doesn't really dictate us being any worse or any better. I mean, it's just who we are. I actually thought the score would be tighter. I think it's a credit to our kids that they played really, really well. And our defense, again, I'll use the word opportunistic. We were stubborn on defense. We made them do some things that got them out of their rhythm and really played into what we're best at, which is attacking the quarterback, ball in the air, catching interceptions, do those type of things. So we're not we are who we are right now, and we need to plan every week we need a really good plan every week on both sides of the ball. And I think what you saw is our coaches adding a little bit more to the offense, adding a little bit more to the defense to just try to put our guys in better situations.
Fun game from a STA perspective, certainly. So on the offensive side of the ball, I thought our running game was again outstanding. 321 total yards. Could have been closer to about 400 had a couple of runs not been called back because of penalties. Savion continues to be awesome. 25 carries, 220 yards, 2 TDs, but he kind of was overshadowed by Nico Vargas, who didn't have as many yards, but 4 TDs on the day, 83 yards, and by far his best game of the year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree, and we have. In Savion taking a lot of the carries this year, we have some fresh legs out there. Nico looks really, really fresh. Yep. Ari is going to have the week off here, and he'll be back. Now, I'd like to say Dom, the sophomore, would also looked really fresh, but Dom has had a whole lot of carries this year, 10th grade and such. Yep. But if you're going to continue to win at this level, you are going to need multiple people contributing. And I'll go back to what I think Coach Marks and Coach Abbott and our offense is doing really well right now is we're distributing the ball. I think we had 7 different guys make catches, or 6.
6, yeah.
You have 4 or 5 different ball carriers, of which you have a guy, what it was, you said 4 touchdowns or 3 for Nico?
I think it was 4. That's what we counted, 4 up in the booth there.
And so you're going to need different people besides just the Dobbs, the Savions, and the Sims to contribute. And if we get to that point where we're not as dynamic there, I think it's going to be easier for defenses.
Yeah, for sure. And so you mentioned it already. Passing game, I feel like was super efficient. Max was 13 of 19, 178 yards, 6 different receivers, and is in a TD in there to his favorite target, Luke Dobbs. I love the fact that they're spreading the ball around. I just think it keeps defenses on their heels, and they don't know who's getting the ball next. So I think we're doing a great job of that. One statistic I'll throw out at you. So we had 62 offensive plays, at least that's what I saw in there. 30% were passing. Do you think that's a healthy mix of pass and run for this offense?
Yeah, part of those passes, we look at the passes in different categories. Is it a drop back pass compared to, is it a play action boot moving out of the pocket pass, or is it quick game? Yep. Part of quick game, I really throw in the run bucket. So we can say the ball's being thrown, but if we're throwing a bubble pass or if we're throwing a hitch or a slant, less bad things can happen. Let's put it that way. The ball is out after a second and a half at most. Our O-line can be really aggressive. Usually you're throwing underneath coverage. So minus a ball being tipped in the air or something doesn't mean it can't be incomplete. So we can say 30%, and I'll take it, right? I'd rather say we're throwing 30% of the time than 15. Right. But let's clearly understand that in our world, we're really saying about 4 of those throws are just really outside run plays. It's just Max throwing the ball to that guy instead of us tossing the ball to that guy.
Yeah. Good point. So still, I think overall, a few things to learn from the game. Penalties continue to be, at least from my perspective, seem to be hampering us a bit. Will that be a point of focus for you this week at practice?
Well, it always is. And we just have some very set rules. Now, part of where I'm at is penalties are going to happen. It just, you can't go through a season without them. They're like turnovers. We work on turnovers every week on how to get the ball out. I think where most coaches have to draw the line is, are they aggressive penalties or are they lazy penalties? Are we getting holding calls because we're not listening to the snap count? And are we getting late hits because we're not hustling? Most of what I want to track is, was it an aggressive penalty in which they're using the technique that we're asking them to? Most of them were. We still have a persistent problem, namely with the quarterback. We tell our guys all the time that if you're going to hit the quarterback, take the quarterback to the ground. And this is why. If you run up and hit a guy and stand over the top of him, not only is that a visual that an official can go, looks worse, but really what you're telling the official is, I didn't have to hit him. I could have stopped. But when you take him to the ground, What you're telling the official is, I didn't have a chance to stop. I clearly didn't know the ball was out. I'm taking him to the ground. And I can tell everyone that's watching this. This has clearly been explained many, many times. Part of it is being at that point of attack. In practice, we don't let them take our quarterbacks to the ground in practice because I don't want our quarterbacks getting hit to the ground, and I don't want their hands getting hit accidentally, fingers getting broke.
For sure.
So it is something that you do have to do a lot, and we just have to be finer on making that decision. Other than that, there weren't a lot of penalties. Max Anderson's penalty in the end zone was an aggressive downfield block. It was bang, bang, and I talked to Max about this. Had we not been warned earlier that we were getting a little bit on the chippy side, which I explained to our O-line, it would have not been called. But because they gave us the warning, we have to know then that they're watching us more closely. I don't know how else to say it. And I give the officials a lot of credit in saying, it's getting to the point where you're getting close. I went and communicated that to our offensive line coach, and I talked to the O-lineman. And had we not gotten that warning, it would have never been called. But we did get the warning, and that's when we have to understand. It's kind of like when you look at your kid as a parent, right? They know you're watching them. It's different, and that's where we have to have that sense of just scale it back a little bit right now, until we're good for a long enough period of time that they'll let us get away with it again.
Exactly. So, all right, let's move on to the MVPs of the game. Let's start with the Scout of the Week.
Yeah. So Scout of the Week, I guess affectionately known as Big Z, and I had never heard that until our coaches recommended him. But Berg Zelany, who had won this award before, has been really good against our O-line. What we try to tell our guys all the time is think about Berg being a 10th grader and getting to go against Max Anderson and Emilio Gomez, Robbie Woolen, and Mr. Hanasak, and I don't want to leave out Isaac Wagner. You get to do that. You get to go against some of the best O-linemen in the state as a 10th grader. Like, let's take advantage of that. So he's really good. He pushed us, and he's slippery in there for a big guy, and he had a great week, and we're going to need more of that from him.
Nice. Good. What about the Cadet Award?
So interesting enough, it's a starter for us, which sometimes it is, but not always. And it's a guy that I've had conversations with, and he plays both sides of the ball for us, Teddy Knapp. He is a dominant tight end. He probably, and people would argue, he might have been our best offensive lineman last year. For sure. And then we put him into the role of defense. And I've been very clear with Teddy on things I haven't liked that he does, and I've challenged him and asked him to do some things differently. And he's responded, and he's been really dynamic on both sides of the ball all year. But we've asked him at times, I tell our whole team, there's times for you to have the tackle. There's times for you to have the sack. There's times for you to have the catch. And sometimes when you're really good and you can just beat people, you just go and do it. And that can compromise some things at times. And he's gotten really good at just manning down and just honing in on what is my responsibility on this play, and that has made our offense and our defense a lot better. So,
nice. All right.
Really proud of him in some of the growth areas that he's gotten better at.
Nice, I like it. How about on offense?
Best game of the year by far, Chase Young. Chase, again, big move from quarterback to tight end, and we were toying with moving him to outside backer for a little bit, and I had some struggles throughout different games. It's hard to go from a quarterback position to being at the point of attack, and your main objective or your main thing that we're asking you to do is to block. Think about that. You're going from going back and throwing the ball to blocking. And last week, he graded out really well. He was on his feet the whole time. He had a couple of really big, tough catches for us. Yeah. He's just where we need him to be, and the competition is only going to get better, and it's going to get tougher. So good stuff.
Yeah. I thought he had a nice game, a couple of great catches, and it was fun. I'm kind of partial to that seam route where he just goes straight out, and we were real good at that last year. And I think I like seeing him be able to be successful at that as well. So, all right, how about defense?
Defense was Patty Emerson. So it's one thing to have a solid game, but then it's another thing to say you made the play when the play was presented to you. And he made just a really cool interception, which you don't see a lot of D linemen getting interceptions. He also had the fumble recovery, so from a production standpoint, way up. A couple weeks ago, we needed him to sack the quarterback. He had 3 sacks, so he's really trending in a nice direction, and just really proud of his efforts. And he's just been locked in lately, and
it's nice.
Making plays when we have the opportunity can win and lose games, and he made them the other day.
Right. Yeah, he got an early Christmas present there on the interception. The fact that he hung on to it was amazing to me. So
it really was.
Fun to see. And then how about on special teams?
Finn Benz had 2 tackles on special teams, and we didn't have a lot of opportunities because we were kind of kicking and move the ball around. They had a couple of good returners. Yep. And then, does it factor in? Yes, he had a good game on defense. He had another pick. So again, you're seeing him, the uptick in more than one area. Yep. It just so happens that he was, did a good job on special teams the other day.
Yeah, and I would add just special teams as a whole. I thought our coverage on the few kicks that we did have was excellent. I felt like that was as good as we've been all year.
It needed to be,
yeah.
And it's a spot in which we haven't been good at.
Right.
I think I said last week, basically, we decided last week we're going to up our special teams time, which means we're taking away now from offense and defense. We're not going to extend practice. So we've taken away from O&D, and we've upped time with special teams. And I hope we saw the benefit of that the other day, at least with kick coverage. We still got to tidy up our punt return stuff, and our PAT field goal is still a work in progress. And it's not just the kicker, like everyone thinks. It's the holding, it's the snapping, it's the protection.
Yep, absolutely.
But I've also realized that we have to do some different things schematically to put more pressure on those other units.
Overall, I thought a great game, and still some things to work on, which is kind of where you
always.
Right?
I don't care where we end up and where we go. There will never be a week where we won't have things. It's a high school football operation. It was no different at the college level. There's always things that when you get good at one thing, you're leaving something behind.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's move on to the next game. You're now 7-2 on the season as we move into the section championship game. We're going to face the Bloomington Jefferson Jaguars, and a team that, to my knowledge, we've never played.
Okay,
as far as I know. So at least in my 15 years, we have not played them, and I don't think we have prior to that. So they started the season with a loss to New Prague, and then now have rattled off 8 straight wins. The Jags come in at 8-1 after defeating Apple Valley on Saturday afternoon in a tight game, 17-14. What can you tell us about them?
I think their strength is in their athleticism. So offensively, they're tough in the front. It's hard when you watch them align formationally. They look spread. Okay, so they're going to be out there and they're going to spread it out. There's a toughness to them in the way they want to run the ball. We've identified what their schemes are, and they can be fairly tough schemes. And there's a toughness in the way they run the ball, but they present more as a spread. So again, you have to cover those guys out there.
Yeah.
You also still have to defend the run game. But I think their strength is actually they have some really good speed at wideout. They have some playmakers at wideout. I'm not going to say Andover because Andover was still, as I look back, it was just a different beast. It's something that we still haven't seen the rest of the year, and I don't know if 5A will. I haven't seen everyone in 5A. But they have some of that personality where they want to mismatch you wherever you're going. If we're going to commit guys to the run, they're just going to check it and throw outside. And if we're going to commit a half a guy out to the pass that maybe shouldn't be, they're going to commit to the run. So we clearly identify that. We know what they want to do. Now it becomes, how do you play that little chess game and catch them every once in a while? And that's a work in progress. But I like their athleticism. I think their quarterback distributes really, really well. And then on the defensive side of it, not to take anything away from their front because they've been good on defense. But if you ask me what is their strength, I think they have secondary guys that can come up and really tackle. And the matchup of the week is probably going to be those guys having to come up our guys having to block at the second and third level, which was one of the things that I said we need to get better at. And it's by far, not even close, our best week last week of blocking at level 2 and 3.
Yep.
And it's going to have to continue to be that, especially against this group. So they can cover, but they can also come up and tackle really, really well.
Right. Well, and having won 8 games, they've got some confidence.
Yeah.
They're on a roll, and that's always a dangerous thing with the team. So, again, as we very similar to what Two Rivers had, I think we're going to be looking at that, and if we can clamp down early, I think we got a great shot. So, all right, so you got 4 days of practice this week, I guess, and as you continue your journey through the playoffs here, what are the couple of things that you're working on besides working on not having penalties? What are the things that you're working on to get better?
We need to taper. You can't just keep practicing at the same level. So we have to find creative ways. Like today is not a physical practice for us. We'll do physical things with them, with Coach Roz. We're also going to be doing a different approach to a scouting report in which the kids asked. I asked the seniors the other day, I said, if we have something, if we're going to change it up a little bit on Monday this week, what would you want? And they talked and we listened. And so they're going to take the lead in watching film together and creating a quasi-scouting report on personnel. And then they're going to come together as a group. Not that we aren't doing it as well as coaches, but allowing them to talk through it and see things as they see it. And they can give us a lot of good information as well. And then they're going to get a stretch and a flex and a quasi-yoga session with Roz. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be the same in terms of our practice format, but we start cutting periods out of that. Instead of being a 24 period on Tuesday, we're 22. Instead of being a 24 on Wednesday, we're down to 20. And then by the time we get to Thursday, it's 18. At this point, we got to start pulling things away and just make sure we're fresh. Yep. This will be the first week that we usually go full pads Tuesday, full pads Wednesday, full shells Thursday. Yep. We will only be full this week on Tuesday, and then shells and shells. So we got to start lightening the load and just remaining fresh.
Yeah. So speaking of fresh, I feel like, based on what I've seen, we're way ahead of where we were last year from that standpoint.
Okay.
So again, that's anecdotal. That's me watching the games, from the booth, not having any daily interaction with that. But it feels like everybody's more prepared. Along with that, how's our health overall? Where are we at?
Well, that's what I can't speak to. I wasn't on the sideline. I wasn't here, so I don't know where we were at last year, and I can't say from a health standpoint where we were at last year. I do know this. We spent some time this week, and Coach Larson is an awesome resource, as is Mr. Jardines in the building, and they've put together some different things. And we ask our kids of all the positive emotions, rank the 5 emotions that are positive and where you're at right now. And then we said rank the 5 negative emotions and where you're at right now. And the common theme, even we can look fresh and we can feel fresh. I can tell you I'm not fresh right now. I wish I was. And I can tell you from a coaching standpoint, you play on Saturday and then put it into a player standpoint. You play on Saturday, usually you get a day to we're right back Sunday in terms of our coaches being right back into meetings. And you need your coaches fresh, you need your players. But the one word that kept coming up is exhausted. It's just, it's the physical exhaustion, it's the mental, it's the emotional, you've got a really challenging school here. Yeah. So we've got to constantly keep in our minds, do we need to be lifting in the morning? Should we just include that in our afternoon? And these are all the conversations I had with the seniors is how do we get away from that? The bulk of the response was they like the morning routine, but if we can shorten how long we're here at night, that gets them home earlier, gets them studying earlier, and now gets them to bed earlier. So all of these things are constantly being talked about to say, everyone's tired this time of year, but how do we make you less tired? So that really becomes the theme now here's the other thing. We haven't had a lot of football injuries. We really have not. We've had a couple concussions. We haven't had a lot of long-term football injuries. We have had some things happen outside of the football world where we've lost guys. And I hope that's because of the way we're practicing. Right. But on the other side of it, I know our defense coach today, we got to tackle better. So how do you balance tackling better without physically taking people to the ground in practice. We're working on that every week to try to get better. Yeah. And I'll be saying the same thing next year at the same time. There's no doubt. It's not, you don't have these guys for 4 years like college.
Right.
You really have a varsity group for now 3 years instead of 4, but
Yep.
it'll be a common theme every year.
Yep. Well, interesting. Again, from my perspective, they look pretty fresh out there.
Good to know.
Interesting to know that there is some exhaustion going on there. So good to keep in mind. So, Coach, thanks for taking some time to talk cadet football with me today. So our cadets will play for the section championship on Friday evening here at Gerry Brown Stadium. Kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. We will have ticket and broadcast information in the comment box below. And on our next show, we will break down the section championship game versus Jefferson and hopefully be looking forward to a state playoff berth and a game with the Section 1 champ, which would be either Owatonna or Northfield. Until then, thanks for watching and go Cadets.